Hello, everybody. Violent moves, crazy stacking happening all over the place. We're going to break it all down. Lots of good things going on. And don't forget, before I forget, I'll say it at the end as well. Links below for everybody here on the show. And we're also streaming to all our respective channels. Mando has disappeared. There he's back again. There he's back again.
Back.
Let me kill the other.
Double
Mando. We had two Mandos. It's a special morning when we got two Mandos. How are you, Mando?
I'm doing great. It's going to be a volatile week, I think, with FOMC, but things are looking good.
Yeah, and a lot of talk. We'll touch on that, how many cuts are expected. CTO, good morning.
Amazing. What a week in the markets, guys. One of the best weeks ever. Incredible.
Yeah, we'll touch on why that is for you as well in a little while. And Marty.
Yeah, great week last week. Excellent volatility this week. Nice corrections and pullbacks over the night, 3 a.m. They always do their work at 3 a.m. Business as usual. I think going to have another good week for traders this week.
Exactly.
A lot of volatility.
And people are asking where you get all your T-shirts, Marty.
This one I got from when you go to the conferences. I just get them at the conferences. Yeah, you can get them. All there's plenty of merch, Solana merch, Sui merch, Bitcoin merch. Bitcoin Magazine has great T-shirts for Bitcoin. Really nice ones.
Cool. While I'm waiting for the deck to load, the story today, at least from my side, is record stacking. We're seeing crazy positions being built up. Okay, the Bitcoin ETFs came raging back. The Sol ETFs also had their biggest week. They basically added the entire size of the amount that they've been stacking all year in just a week, over $200 million. We have some crazy price predictions coming out from different players. And the question we will tackle later is where we are, how long the cycle will last. We hear all these hyperbolic targets from different players out there saying, oh, we should be at 200K, etc. But we're not there. Like Bitwise Matt Hougan here, we should be at 200K. He believes Bitcoin is going to triple this year. Game theory is on fire. That's the first story. Last week we covered, of course, Tom Lee saying easy $200,000 Bitcoin by year end. What type of madness is this? Mando, is this just people pumping their own bags, or is there substance behind this?
It's the second person to really be saying this, right? I think everyone's pointing to that correlation with Global M2 and also just the stacking by corporates. I think don't lose faith. There's a lot of people I see right now in crypto which are losing faith during these like more choppy periods. Big voices out there. But I do think this correlation will come back. As much as I don't think we're going to 200K in the next week or so, I do think that we are going to see Bitcoin head back to an all-time high and go up to around 150K by year end. That's what my gut tells me. I think we're in for a period here of monetary easing, and just don't overthink it. I think during these periods of chop, a lot of people freak out and just sell at the wrong times. You're going to see a very volatile week. There will be times where you'll be like, oh, I should have sold. And there'll be times you'll be like, oh, I should have bought. But I think by the end of this week, hopefully we start to see a bit more stability. And I think over the next couple of months, we'll start to edge up high.
Amanda, can you shed some light on how the scuttlebutt on the grapevine works in markets? So people like Matt here, he's in touch with nation states, huge institutions. He hears all their plans because they're talking to him. How can I build a bag fast? Do I go OTC or whatever else? Do you think he knows a lot more than he's letting on when he talks game theory is on in full swing?
No, I think it's pretty obvious that we're seeing big sovereigns and corporates coming in to buy crypto. I think this is slightly coming up against the idea of like the 4-year cycle. This is where it's all going to come to a head, right? Over the next few months.
Yeah.
And let's say 3 to 6 months. And my gut is that we're actually going to move past that and we won't see a 4-year cycle. But what I do think is that you're going to have some volatility in that period, because a lot of voices in crypto are saying, get out, it's the end.
Yeah.
And people like this coming on and saying, no, we've just got insane amounts of buyers coming in trying to buy. So And I think this is the camp that will win, basically, because I think we're actually following what TradFi does a lot more than just a basic cycle.
Exactly. Marty, how do you deal with psyops? People who say this is the end. We had, people 2 weeks ago saying Tesla's going to zero, and it was at $300, $220, $240, etc. How do you deal with these?
My whole career it's been like that in trading. I laugh at them. I wish them luck. They're always wrong. So there you go. I mean, you always get the last laugh. It's been going on for a while now. Look, we have to be very clear. The cycle to me is over. The cycle is there's always a cycle in the early eras of a novel asset class, specific to this one, which has a whole lot of mining elements. But I believe it's over. We now have institutional asset class. And the only issue we have is there's unregulated derivatives, unregulated derivative market. So the casino is huge, and the casino always wins. And until the casino is regulated, you're going to have this volatility to the downside, even though people are buying. And I think they're just as frustrated as everybody else. They buy it up, and then it gets taken down so easily. But you have to understand that there's no regulation, so they can do that. And, I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and it looks like it's coming to an end probably around Christmas, Loomis, etc. The market structure bill will make a lot of the stuff illegal. So it's almost the dog days of this to me. I think we're going to see a lot less volatility. And then with regards to the $200,000 thing, it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you look at global liquidity, it's already at 114.5 thousand without the US really printing substantially new liquidity. So that's roughly around 195 if you correlate it to M2 to Bitcoin. We're currently at 115 with 109 trillion, and we're about halfway there. So I can see why everybody thinks it's going to 200. I mean, it's basically just following global liquidity where we are now if you correlate it. So it makes a lot of sense if you believe that.
Okay, we've stumbled into the cycle conversation, which was a little later on the agenda, but that's fine. We can jump around. So Mando believes the cycle will be extended. Marty, you believe the same thing.
I think there's a super cycle. Remember, I put up that chart a couple of months ago, the super cycle. Yeah. I think slowly the spread diminishes and Bitcoin becomes much less volatile.
And CTO, we have an unusual situation right now. We've got global liquidity spiking. We have gold breaking new record all-time highs. We have 3 to 5 rate cuts incoming. We've never been close to all-time highs with all these tailwinds hitting at the same time. What do you see out there?
Yeah. So when I started trading crypto in like 2017, I went on social media, and then people said, this is gonna moon, and I went in, oh great, and then I went in and bought, and then it dumped, and then I saw some other people say, this one is over, it's dead, okay, then better get out of that one. That's the one that went up. And then I realized, okay, this is the oldest trick in the book. You cannot listen to what people are saying gonna happen, because they are trying to create liquidity in the other direction. They're saying it's dead when they're buying, and they're saying it's going to go to $1 gazillion when they're actually selling and need the liquidity for that. So what I learned is that you should stop listening to what people are saying here. You should try to figure out what they're actually doing. And that is what technical analysis is about. Sometimes it can uncover what people are doing. Which is frequently the opposite of what they are saying that they are doing. So if we look in the chart now for Bitcoin, what happened this week since we spoke last time was that we got an inverse head and shoulders formation in Bitcoin. So that usually happens when there is buying interest. So that confirmed here last Wednesday, and that gave a price target that's actually above this kind of final resistance here at 17,300. Now, price went up there. It turned a little bit before that. It hasn't broken through it yet, but that's the latest thing that has actually happened. And when this comes in the charts, this doesn't appear without people buying. So I don't care about what they are saying they think will happen, because there has been people buying. That is indisputable, and we see it in many other charts as well. We'll talk about Solana later, I'm sure, and Tesla and other things. But so my plan is very clear. I will not care about what other people are saying they think will happen. I will look at what they are doing. And right now, the trend has not turned. The latest turn of trends was up. And that was back here at 95,000. And since then, the trend has not turned down. It has not reversed. So, and we see bullish patterns in the chart. And as long as this remains, I'm going to stay in the market. And then I don't need to know if this turns at 150,000, 200,000, 300,000. I don't need to know if it will end in December or in 2026, or if the 4-year cycle is dead and it continues, for years here. I will simply look at when it actually turns. When there's actually signs of selling, that's when I will, turn to being careful. But right now, that has not been the case. And I think exactly like Mando said here, there's a lot of people who gotten shaken out here, who start getting scared for this or other narratives. And that is not what's actually happening in the chart. People have been buying here these past couple of weeks. And while that is the case, I'm positive. I'm in the market.
Exactly. And that confirms what you see here on the chart. If you look at coin shares, they had like a very, very strong week last week across the board. All the money is flowing in. So you're dead right there. The money is supporting your thesis big time. So back to where we are. Not that one. Hold on. Remove that one. I gotta get all this stuff confused. Remove ad. There it is. So the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Sorry about that. We have, again, not just all the tailwinds from the macro side. We have Treasuries. And then we have another piece of breaking news that the SBR is happening from Alex Thorne. Also, we had a government official, I forget his name last week, Marty, maybe you can remember, who said, yep, SBR is our top priority for the US government. And a lot of people believe they'll have something by the end of the year. Marty, what's the status on the Bitcoin strategic reserve for the US?
Yeah, the government have been quite vocal. In fact, they put out a new bill which had explicit text. I think it's S5833, SHR 5833 last week, I think it was last week, which had specific text saying the government has 90 days from the time of that bill to prepare, custodian, how it will be aggregated and accumulated from all of the seized things, everything we've always asked, like where will it go? Where will it be stored? Will the wallets be transparent? All of that was written in a bill. So it looks like it's real. As far as whether they're going to open buy any new Bitcoin in the open market, we're not sure of that. Currently, it's still just seized Bitcoin, which is around 196,000. But just the fact that they're pushing as hard as they can, I believe, to try and get it done. There's no definitive answer. That bill hasn't been voted on. The session comes back in the US towards the end of this month, going through to Christmas. So we should have a lot of activity there, and we could expect SBR. And also they mentioned the crypto stockpile, which now is becoming clear will be accumulating stake in networks where the digital dollar is deployed, stablecoin. So things like that. So it's all looking good. It's just people need to understand you have to be patient. It's like a slow moving oil tanker.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight thing.
And M2 globally is ripping, and we're going to get rate cuts, which means any money market money is going to go into the markets, into risk assets. But people are wondering, okay, what exactly does this mean? Is it true? A lot of people believe that M2 correlation with Bitcoin is the key chart, is the only chart you should be looking at. I think, Bando, you buy into that. I know your mate Raoul Paul does as well. Where are we in that? There is a lag. Bitcoin is smashing it because M2 is smashing it. So if the market sees M2 ripping, they know, okay, debasement's happening. I need hard assets like gold. And there's always that 30-day lag with Bitcoin. It's still lagging. Is it going to pop over the next 2 weeks? What do you think?
Yeah, this is the longer term thesis that global money printing will lead to people wanting to have hard assets, and Bitcoin is the hardest asset. But there is a real fundamental driver of this relationship. It feels as though over the last month or two, or maybe 3 now, it's deviated, mainly because we saw some very big wallets, I think, switch from Bitcoin into ETH, and she had this sort of technical trade where Bitcoin started to underperform versus ETH. But I think that is a long-term correlation that will come back. The reason why gold is ripping is for this exact reason too. Everyone's expecting lower rates and more money printing globally. Money printing mainly still out of Asia, but at least lower rates in the US. And the data that we saw over the last week continues to point to a weaker jobs market in the US than people had previously thought, and inflation under control, which means that we could actually get a faster rate of cutting this time. So I think that is why I'm bullish on Bitcoin through this week. What you tend to see on a week like this is people often actually move their funds post a change in rates, particularly multiple change in rates. But you can see a lot of cross-asset portfolio managers move. Let's say if they think rates are going to go, as rates come down, bonds go up. So arguably, you could say this is a good time to buy bonds because bonds could go up. Sometimes you see, like I said, cross-asset portfolio managers moving some of their equity exposure into rates, and that has crosswinds against crypto because if equities fall a little bit, then crypto freaks out. But if you just ignore the next couple of weeks of volatility, hold on to your hat, I do think we're going to go quite a bit higher in
And let's figure this out, because everywhere I look, maybe people miss the rally. They're hoping for the market to come back. Marty, looking at rates, okay, these are the scenarios. They don't cut, the market's tank. They cut 25 basis points, it's priced in, market's tank. They double cut, the market gets afraid. Why are they cutting twice? Is the macro really, really bad? Is the job market really, really bad? Is this going to be a sell the news event on Wednesday? That's the minute.
Or, like I say, the mantra anyone in my community knows, on good news, the market makers will flush the market. On bad news, they will pump the market. Why? Because everybody thinks rate cuts are going to mean a big pump, so they're going to go long. And so they're going to liquidate them. They're not going to allow anyone to go long in crypto. They're not surveilled. They have no regulation. So they can do whatever they want. So I understand this is probably the most bullish event in the last 2 years for global liquidity, right? When rate cuts go down, all the money moves out of the money markets, out of Treasuries, out of things earning 4.5%, and moves into risk on, trying to beat 4.5% because 4.5% is going to drop as rate cuts go down. And this could be a very aggressive schedule. So you should expect downward pressure. And we saw today, 3 a.m. this morning, Binance sends 50 to 60,000 Solana and 4,500 Ethereum to Wintermute. They bring it down to max pain. That's just how it works until it doesn't. Bitcoin is a little bit different because it's held by so many strategic reserves. It's pretty much at this point out of the hands of Binance, I believe, and in the hands of Main Street and Wall Street. So you can see it's much less volatile. But that's just the way it is until it's not. Also, understand the biggest driver, which is Trump's biggest driver, which is refinancing the debt. This year alone, I believe they have to refinance 100. Well, let's get the exact number. I mean, and does anyone know how much debt does the US have to refinance in 2025? Now remember, they don't want to refinance at these rates. They need rates to go down.
Over the next 12 months, they need to refinance something like 8 trillion. And if they're doing that at 5%, then the long end of toast. Yeah,
9.2 trillion towards the end of the yield curve. So that has to change. I don't think if that doesn't change, the US will default.
Or they blow up their deficits and print more money. Either way, it's a death spiral.
Either way leads to money printing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So there is. You mentioned rate cuts. So basically, you think for at least for crypto, it'll be a sell the news event on Wednesday. If you're long and you've got tight liquidation levels,
I think the sell the news happened at 3 a.m. this morning. I think they ran it up nice and casually over the weekend. Last night the Solana thing specifically was really interesting. Last week they completed the purchase of 6.5 million SOL through Galaxy OTC. That's Forward Industries, Carl Samany, Multicoin Jump, Galaxy DAT, and they ran it up. It hit 250, but they bought at 232. So max pain is like 231.5. Look where we are today, 232. So they took it up slowly. They brought it back to where it was. That's what they do. No one's, everyone went long on that news. And they're going to do the same thing across the board, so anything they can, which is most altcoins. Ethereum and Bitcoin are a little bit more protected because of the ETFs and Wall Street's power, but the rest of them, they're going to manipulate them until they can't. So I think the same will be true for the ES1, for the NQ1. I think the market makers are going to take full advantage of this rate cut schedule, but you just got to look a little bit forward. Don't look particularly at this week. If you're a trader, salivate at this week. Longing and shorting should be real fun, but if you're a long-term trader, this is all bullish news. Ultimately, this results in the asset class doing, major moves up, not intraday 10%, which we're looking at now. I'm talking about 30 to 40% across the board. That takes crypto market cap from 4 trillion probably to $5.5 to $6 trillion. Pretty fast. 21-hour candles, green candles.
Risk happens fast. CTO, what's your take? Wednesday, sell the news event or rocket ship? We have kind of a mixed perspective. Marty believes we had the dump already.
CTO.
Sorry, I'm not sure what will happen on Wednesday, but I have another observation to share if I can.
Yep.
Share the screen again. So
remove this. Hang on a second. I have to remove and then add. Go.
So here is gold, folks, like the traditional gold. You can't find a more, better chart than this. Here is stocks, S&P 500. Every single day, there's new all-time high. Basically, like every second day, new all-time high. Do we really think that that's the environment where Bitcoin ends? I don't know. I don't think so. It feels, suspiciously suppressed, I think. So the macro environment has been absolutely fantastic, and we're even more if we look at specific tech stocks like Tesla and so on. So I don't think, I would be very surprised if this was the end here in Bitcoin. Of course, if the situation changes, I will change my mind. But right now, I just don't see it. Stocks looking like this, gold looking like this. Okay, and we have inverse head and shoulder. Trend hasn't turned down in Bitcoin. I don't know. It can't be better than this. So I don't care what happens on Wednesday.
Yeah,
that's my take.
I agree with that.
Don't day trade on Wednesday. In fact, I would probably not do that many trades at all, because you'll see it very violently move around. Very, very violently move around. The best thing probably to do is just fade whatever aggressive move happens on Wednesday, because as Marty says, this is a market maker's dream, a day like that.
Absolute dream. That was exactly right there, man. Yeah. That's it. Fade, go the opposite way, take your profit, wait for the next one.
Or have out already if there is a dip and you don't have a position in a certain asset, if you miss the train on something like Tesla and there's a 20% dip, that's your signal to grab it. Because that's a very rate sensitive stock. When rates go down, Tesla goes up. When rates go down, Bitcoin goes up. It's rocket fuel. M2 is rocket fuel. Rate cuts are rocket fuel. We're adding multiple boosters onto the risk assets, which is kind of wild.
I mean, let me give you guys a little perspective. There's $16 billion of longs to 104,000 right now.
On Bitcoin.
Whilst on the short side, there's even to 128,000, only 8.8 billion. So there's twice as many people long as there are short right now. So they're going to get rid of those longs. There's no way they're leaving those longs for some massive markup. It's not the way it works. Yeah. And that's the hard part of market dynamics that people have never been educated on in crypto specifically. The market is about longing and shorting. It's 20 to 30 times bigger than the spot market. So that's what will dictate the market. So they'll get rid of the longs and then hopefully run it up real fast, like a 2017, 2020 move, to eliminate more longs coming in. and then we should see a slow, a reset at a higher value. I'd say 20% more. I would say Bitcoin will land up at around 125,000 after it's all said and done.
Yeah. All right. So last week we were at 110. This week we're nearly 115K. We did hit 116.8 a few hours ago before bed. We know the ETFs are stacking. Michael Saylor did a small buy, like 500 Bitcoin. Metaplanet's buying. And there are some wallets that have done nothing but stack. There's one wallet that's never sold, but they've now added 250,000 Bitcoin. We don't know who that is. It could be somewhere in the Middle East. But nothing but goodness here. And we've seen that there is stacking happening, stealthy stacking on Bitcoin. It hasn't quite pumped the price maybe as much yet, but it will follow. Yeah.
The max pain right now in Bitcoin is 113,678. They will hit that. Mark my words.
Yeah.
So then to eliminate the over leveraged traders, they'll hit 113,678. That's just below us now through the 100x positions. I can give you across the board if you guys want. Maybe it's helpful for people. Ethereum is 44.78. It's just below us right now. Sol is 231.5. We nearly got this. $1 lower. XRP is 2.95, and so on. And you can look at that. I use CoinGlass now. It has a max pain page. You can go to liquidation max pain. Very helpful. You can look at it at a 12-hour all the way up to 1 month. I use the 24-hour. It's very accurate intraday. But you can see it almost hits it every time, if not always every time.
So we have Bitcoin stacking. There's three big stacking things that are happening right now. We need to figure out why. Then we have, not that one. Then we have other crazy stacking happening here. And I know, Marty, you're very aware of it. The Sol strategies, the digital asset treasury companies are stacking very fast. There's a whole bunch of very exciting ones for Solana. And there's also hype treasuries. There's ETH treasuries, really two principal ones of those. But the amount that's being bought is insane. So this Forward Industries, nearly 7 million Sol was purchased. Then we have Galaxy Digital, another 1.2 million Sol in the past 24 hours. These guys have been adding hundreds of thousands, if not millions, every 24 hours. Where does all this go? When does it end? Are they moving old FTX bags that they've got on the cheap, but they're locked in for 4 years into these positions? Mando, any insight into this?
This actually was done better than I thought it was going to be done. It does seem like quite a lot of this was open market purchases. You don't know if somehow they're selling on the back, because a lot of these are associated with VCs, but the buys are definitely happening on market. They're not just buying locked FTX Solana. So this happened better than I thought. I'm a little bit more bullish on the Solana treasury DATs. It does feel as though they're going to resemble a bit more like the ETH ones, and there are a few different people now vying to be the Tom Lee or Michael Saylor, right? You have Carl Samani of Multicoin, and then you have, I think even I saw Mert's vehicle may have been announced today. Like I think I saw Helios got one. So it's clear there's a few people who are going to be on CNBC shouting about Solana, which I think is a very, very important thing for all of this.
Good. And then we had another crazy story. So obviously I watched everything like a hawk, but I also watched Tesla like a hawk. Tesla went up $75 in 3 days. It went from $100 in a couple of weeks. And this is the funny meme going around. I did modify it. It's kind of hilarious. But why did it go up so fast? Well, there's some very interesting things happening. Elon Musk, okay? He made his biggest purchase ever in his life of 2.6 million shares on Friday. Again, open market, Mando. That's wild. And obviously, it's always a good sign when the CEO, who has a ton of stock, who's going to get $1 trillion pay package if he executes, and then he buys another 2.6 million shares. What type of madness is this? Have you seen anything like this happen with a CEO of a massive Mag 7 company do this before? I haven't.
No one does this. No one's as wealthy as Elon. In fact, the only person that could rival it would be like Jensen Huang, and all of those guys are selling, right?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that perspective. Wild. So that's who's pumping the Tesla price. I was saying I was saying, oh my God, at last TradFi has woken up to Tesla and they're stacking fast. I was wrong. It's Elon Musk. CTO,
I mean,
what do you make
Ryan Cohen bought, I think, 500,000 shares of GameStop, if you remember. Michael Saylor's bought shares. But yeah, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, they've all bought shares, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
They were like 50 million, 100 million. This is unprecedented move by Elon Musk.
So I always go back to, why would somebody do this when they have so much anyway, and he's going to get voting control that he wants because he doesn't want a radical board coming in, kicking him out and taking over the company, because in the era of AI, that could be very dangerous for the world, taking his million Optimus robots and turning them into soldiers or something. That's against his philosophy. CTO, what do you make of this wildness? And do you have a chart that maybe showed us that this was happening?
Yes. Again, the magic lines turned out, worked again. We talked about it many times, right? Here, I think, James, you also bought here this retracement back to the trend line here at 200 something.
Yeah, 218, 220. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was down here. We talked about it here on the channel when it happened, and now it's like, it's doubled since that. That's just in April. And again, the trend turned up here, guys, in the end of last year. And the enormous amount of negativity that there has been around Tesla around this time. It's a perfect example of that, what I said earlier. It's like intentional efforts to talk it down.
Yeah.
But someone was buying, guys. Otherwise, the trend wouldn't be up. So that's a perfect example of that. You have to kind of forget about what everyone is saying on social media and try to think for yourself and try to look at what people are actually doing. And in this case, they were buying Tesla because the trend turned up. This color here, it doesn't change backwards or anything. The trend turned up here in October last year. So clearly people were buying. And of course, like the founder and the CEO and I don't know, is he the biggest owner? He is, right? Even the number of shares.
13%. He has 13% now.
Yeah. So for sure, he had a hunch of this. And I think, I don't know what Elon Musk is doing, but he has said many times that he wants to gather resources, right? To gather enough resources to take humanity to Mars. Maybe he feels he needs the money. It's not to buy yachts and entertainment, is to do something with the money. Maybe he thinks the stock will go up. Maybe he thinks that it will be good for the company with positive price action. Can be a combination of those. Why not? Why not buy up the price a little bit? Especially if he thinks that it will continue up. That seems like a good idea. The funny thing is also, like, if someone in crypto would do this, it would be like so bad, and everyone, they pump their own price, and they are the pumpers, they pump the stock. But in the stock market, it's perfectly legit to do stock buybacks, or the owner can buy more shares and drive up the price. And they buy it on the open market exactly to drive up the price.
Yeah, and there's other interesting things happening too. There's the new comp plan. They moved out of Delaware to Texas, so they have more freedoms where the judges don't take control of the company and revoke things that the shareholders voted on. I'll get off my rant box about that one. But voting control is big. There was a lot of FUD in the market that hedge funds, etc., would buy big en masse on Tesla. And this is the rumor last week, so they could vote against the comp plan. But little do they know, between the big heavy insiders, the board, and retail shareholders, they own like 61%, 62% of the company. And the rest are just, a lot of hedge funds have some positions as well. But anyway, it's interesting to look at. Let's move to another story. We have an interesting phenomenon, Mando, for you. 2 chains. This is kind of wild. 2 chains make over 60% of all revenue in crypto. It's Hype and Sol. Okay? Everybody's talking about Ethereum. but the real product market fit, where all the money, where all the users, etc., are happening, are Hype and Sol. I have never, because I track revenue by chain for years and years, for 5 years. I've got APIs that bring all the data in and watch this every single day. I've never seen anything like such an egregious imbalance of money making. And I know winners take most, but how do you rationalize this when there's 100,000 blockchains and two make 2/3 of the revenue?
Yeah, they're crushing it. I think if it comes to user adoption, Solana and Hype are absolutely crushing it, particularly because they're also like monolithic, basically. It does feel as though they're going to continue to be. This week, I think the real thing about Solana is the apps. The apps on Solana just make so much money. This week, Pump Fun, if you've been following the token generation platform, kind of went a bit mainstream. If you know anything about streaming, they have a streaming platform attached to them, and they actually, I think I saw something like they had more viewers than Rumble over the last 48 hours. So a lot of big streamers went onto Pump Fun to create coins, and Pump Fun actually flipped Hyperliquid in daily revenue. So that is insane. It trades at $8 billion right now. So the way that Solana is built, with obviously the speed of transactions, it means that you can have these incredible apps which people go and use. Solana is an absolute behemoth. I think it's always going to be in and around the conversation for the next few years, and it's now being more organized on the institutional side as well. So I think it's got a good story about it. I think it probably runs into it's a tough week to be rallying just because of the volatility I think we'll see this week. So I don't know. I think you'll have good chances to buy Solana. Like if you feel like you just missed it, I feel like just there's going to be some volatility this week. So, but I do think it's going to be a good one for the rest of the year. Hopefully we start to see the ETFs in Q4 too. And I still think that will be where it really shines. Like Q4, Q1 is where I think it'll have its strongest period.
Yes. So, man, you're like me. Expect the volatility, but don't try day trade it, but have your powder ready to buy dips on things that you don't have. That's kind of the core message. You and I agree on that. Marty.
Yeah, I mean the core reason, as an app developer in the industry, the core reason that Solana and for a certain degree Hype developed their trading app as part of the L1, so it's very much within the code. But I mean, it's all about programming languages and developers. So Solana, you develop with Rust, which is a very industry standard programming language, very powerful language. It's been around for years. You can build anything with very rapidly. There's a lot of open source best practices. So people can build applications and build very sophisticated applications without too much worry or concern. Ethereum is Solidity, which is a very limited programming language. So there's very little you can build. Plus, there's a lot of re-entrancy issues, so a lot of defensive code. So once you build something, it's very brittle. You don't like to change it because you don't want to introduce bugs up the chain, up the supply chain, things like that. And then Sui obviously has Move, which is a dedicated programming language built to be sort of an enterprise language. So you got to look at the languages that these applications are built in, and that's why Solana does so well. It's because it's kind of like a supercomputer. You can run any Rust program on Solana anywhere in the world, permissionlessly. So anybody can write an app and deploy it. There's no permissions, there's no limits, etc. And so there you go. And I mean, Pump.Fun has big aspirations. If you saw their original presentation pitch, they definitely said they were going to try and take on TikTok. And I think this is just the beginning. That's what they're really trying to do, monetize TikTok, which, crypto is perfect for creators and a creator economy, removing the intermediary. So there you go. I think those are the real reasons. Absolutely.
Excellent. Good stuff.
I can add one thing also. I think the user experience is so different. I actually spent more time this summer trying the different chains and different tools and so on. And I mean,
how's Cardano? How did you enjoy Cardano?
I didn't try Cardano. I don't know what to try on it. So, but I mean, in fairness, Ethereum has gotten better. They've continued to improve and evolve it. It's better than it was some years ago. But then you switch from Ethereum, and I mean, Ethereum is layer 1. If you do anything useful, serious, you end up on layer 1. Or you use Base, which is like a completely different ecosystem. They could as well have their own coin.
They announced
It doesn't
today.
matter.
Jesse Pollock just announced at the base thing that they're considering it.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to do it for sure. It's like two completely different ecosystems. So Ethereum.
Let's tap into that. But I don't want to cut you off, but I want to tap into that point because Base drives all the adoption and usage for Ethereum. You're saying Base is going to leave the Ethereum ecosystem and build out their own layer?
We don't know yet. They said they are now exploring a network token. Now,
okay,
they are an L2 right now. They could decide, look, we want to do our own L1. You know, like we're big enough, we can do enough validators. Like we should have our own L1. But like BNB, for example, right, which is probably EVM based, as is an Ethereum virtual machine based, but it could be an L1, or they can continue to be an L2 because they may argue that helps their tokenization efforts. You know, RWAs. They want to inherit the whatever they think about
trust.
The trust of ETH or the security of ETH, at least on the L1. I don't know, but I don't know if that's great news for ETH because I would agree that Base will, if it has its own token, you could imagine that could be the gas token. You could also imagine that it could even be its own L1. So.
Yes. Sorry, CTO. That was just too important.
I mean, it's a very important point because also maybe it doesn't even matter. If they have their own token, it gets even more separated. It's like, okay, you can bridge, but for what? So it ends up with two different ecosystems. And then when you go, so Ethereum still means layer one in practice. And then you switch over to Solana and it's a completely different experience, right? You get seconds instead of 20 seconds. I mean, in fairness, Ethereum isn't like 2 minutes anymore to do it. You know, it confirms in 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds in practice. But on Solana, it's like 2 seconds. And it's final, it's done, everything is complete. And the user experience for almost anything is magnitudes better. It really is. And I think that will matter a lot. Because no matter how good, you know, even if you write the perfect software program, at the end of the day, it's like how is the user experience? And it is so good on Solana. It really is. And I think that will matter a lot going forward, actually.
Yeah. I actually tried to use Arbitrum, Ethereum, and MetaMask for a hype purchase. And by the way, and I used dBridge as well because it was so hard to buy hype. My hype that I bought at $33 is floating in the Ethernet somewhere. I can't even get access to it. I might talk to you, Marty, about fishing that back for me. It's not that much. It's like $10,000 worth, but it's worth trying to get our hands on if we can. We'll ping you on that later. But it was just completely unusable for me, CTO.
Yeah, I mean, Ethereum has gotten better because Phantom integration and so on and so forth. But even like for like, the user experience is like a magnitude better. It really is already today.
All right, let's switch to the next quick topic here. A lot of people are planning for profit taking, but they're wondering, is it safe to move all of their insane gains that they made during this crypto bull run into stable coins? Is there any risk you perceive out there putting imagine you made $1 million on crypto. Would you park it in a stable coin or would you move it back to fiat and into your bank? CTO, talk to us about the risks.
There is no safe place to store money anymore. That is my firm conviction.
Thanks for the comfort.
I mean, if we look at stable coins also, I mean, I've been running up some stairs while we still lived in Stockholm there when one day, you know, USDT the pegs, the next week is USDC because they have the money in this bank and that bank is maybe going bankrupt. So the money is perhaps gone and so on. It's not even crypto's fault. It's like the traditional banking system that they're collapsing because they speculate badly on bonds. So it's like you can't protect from everything. There is a risk having money in crypto, definitely. So you need to see great returns to take that risk. But there is a definite risk today to hold cash in the bank as well. And there is just no safe way, full stop. Not even government bonds. They could default, guys, in our lifetime. And you just have to spread the risk, try to jump between assets, and accept that there is a risk. So there has to be upside as well. That's my take.
Excellent. Thank you for that, CTO. Marty,
Mhm.
you make $1 million fast on a flyer. You have to sell it on chain. You move it to say Tether or Circle or whatever USDC. What do you do next? Do you leave it there in a hot wallet, or do you convert it to fiat and you buy an AI stock like Tesla? What is your game plan? Where do you have minimum risk? Everybody's concerned about
I kind of agree with CTO. I think in this era of financial repression, nowhere is safe. You can look at specifically at wealthy people. The wealthy have moved significant amounts of their wealth out of the banking system into crypto. I mean, that's why there's $4 trillion in the new global money. Because the problem with a bank is you can have $1 million on your Wells Fargo account, but you can only take out 20,000 a day. So if you need to leave the country or need to make a larger life move, you know how it is. They're going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to delay it. It's not your money. Just understand that dollars is just debt. It's just the accounting system on an old mainframe at the central bank. It's just debt. So it's not real money. So I think, what are your options? Your options are to keep it in Bitcoin and obviously endure a little bit of volatility. Probably that's the safest bet. But stablecoins, I'd say, is the second best. Backed by US Treasuries, regulated in the law of the USA through the Genius Act, and part of the US's strategic monetary policy. I personally, I'm a very conservative guy, so I keep, a little money in the bank, money in Bitcoin, money in stable coins, each of them. I try and diversify and hedge it as much as I can in all things. So if anything does happen, I'm always safe. I don't want to be, I'm not an all-in guy. I'm a DCAer, not an all-inner. But in my opinion, the best, if you want a front run, is keep it in stablecoin. I think stablecoin is proving to be the most liquid, especially stablecoin on these high-speed chains like Solana and Sui. I mean, it's instantaneous settlement. You can get a Visa card backed by a stablecoin wallet, so you can use it all over the world on your Apple Pay. I can't see a reason to sell valuable assets into a deprecating currency that's locked up by capital controls, the bank. I think there'll be a move away from banks and into stablecoins, and I think we've just seen the beginning of that. So I kind of agree. But
stable coins are also deprecating as well.
I mean, don't drain your bank, because it's also not only risky. If something does happen, you lose that money. But it's good to keep a government profile. I mean, you don't want to drain your bank account in a crypto. You'll get on a list. This person's completely in crypto. Just hedge. Keep a little bit in everything, but slowly over time, I would say the move is to move more into stablecoin. And then also the lovely thing about stablecoin is you can get terrific yield. So it's not just, dependent on Jerome Powell's decisions. You can make a lot of yield. You can make up to, 5 to 8%.
Or my plan is stack stable coins like USDC, so you can enter perp shorts if you believe the market is at the top.
There you go.
Exactly. Mando. Are we mad? Are these guys mad or what?
I put my money in stablecoins all the time. I guess I'm a bit more risky down the risk spectrum with what I do with my stablecoins. But yeah, there's loads of cool stuff in DeFi you can do. There's risks to all of this, as you well know. I think my favorite, I would say, middle of the run website for checking this sort of stuff is Pendle Finance. Huge TVL. If you go to pendle.finance, you can find a bunch of different things you can put your stable coins into. There's a really good follow, actually, and I'll recommend it. Steven, let me get his handle. He's called Steven DeFi Dojo. And this guy puts out like a weekly newsletter of all the cool things you can do with stables. He only does stables. But he gets insane yields on a bunch of different stuff. So if you just like, I just want to be in stables for a little bit, but you still want to have a little bit of do some risky things in DeFi and you feel advanced in DeFi sort of stuff, he's one of the best follows.
Yeah, let me pull up the Pendle screen.
Just for any traders out there, the flush is happening right now. Just if you are looking to trade, this is your chance. Anyone wanting to go long, these are the next hour. I'd say Ethereum just broke 44.78. Looking at 44.30.
Is that base headline not like a bit of a game changer? I kind of agree with what we were just saying there. Like, and this is someone who's been bullish on ETH. if Base is going to form its own L1 versus an L2, that's quite a big question here, because Base is a huge bit of the Ethereum story on an institutional level as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if, it's complete conjecture, but there could be some FUD if they come out and say they're going to do an L1.
It's just Ethereum tanking right now. The others are holding up. So
yeah, I mean, to make an L1 that's sufficiently decentralized to get regulated, can take a significant amount of money to build. You have to create, servers on all continents. You have to buy a significant amount of the stake. I mean, it's like a massive investment for Coinbase to do that. But I've always said, I mean, Manda, we've been doing the show for a long time. Right in the beginning, we said the biggest risk to Ethereum is if Base makes their own L1.
Which, I mean, they've got to consider it, right? Hyperliquid's doing the L1 route. BNB's an L1. You've seen that Circle's planning on doing their own L1. Tether's is backing an L1. You heard about the Paradigm L1. Like, is Base going to be an L2, or do they think we should be our own L1 too?
Yeah,
I mean, if anybody can get it fast tracked and get it regulated, will be Coinbase with their foot in the door. So I can't see them not making their own L1 base token. I mean, it just makes too much sense.
Yeah, and I mean, creating a token, right? It's got to be the best business case in the history of mankind. The production cost is like $1, and it instantly gets worth like $5 billion, and they put half in their own pocket.
They could also tokenize their coin stock. Like a Galaxy.
They've said that like it could be like they could do that like a buy and burn almost for. But
there you go.
I think the question here for ETH is Base going to be an L? And obviously ETH survives whatever happens to Base. But if you're looking for some short-term FUD, it's Base creating their own L1.
Yeah. Definitely. And when I look at this side, back to the Pendle side, when I see Athena 18.39% APY, that makes me very suspicious.
Well, Athena is just to give a bit of a context on Athena. Athena is the coin that does the hedging, right? Like they buy spot ETH and they short futures ETH, and this has been the biggest breakout story in stablecoins for the last 2 years, right? It's I think 11 or 12 billion TBL. It's the fastest to ever get above 10 billion TBL. How this works is that you basically lock in a yield. And this will be Athena, I think, put into some sort of extra DeFi protocol, which is looking to get TVL. So maybe some of the yield comes from their own native coin. But Athena itself is quite an interesting play, just if you want to own stable with yield. If you just go to the Athena website, you get like 10%. But yeah, to be clear, this is a site if you want to be a bit spicy with your stable coins.
I mean, another massive Ethereum red flag is the validator queue. Have you looked at it lately? There's 2.6 million ETH waiting to exit staking and only 500,000 to enter. That's the biggest disparity I've seen in ever. It's 2 million ETH. Things like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of FUD coming for ETH. Honestly.
And this goes back to what we've been discussing for months now, is the rotation station. I do a lot of rotation. I do a lot of pair trading. We saw the rotation thanks to Tom Lee. Actually, let's take a step back. The ETH ETFs were dead for a year, and they didn't kick off in earnest till Tom Lee hit the fuse. The question related to this thought: will the SOL ETFs be the same situation, or is it different with the SOL ETFs? Marty, you track it most.
I mean, let's talk about SOL ETFs. So we had the DTCC last week list the Fidelity Solana ETF and the Canary. So we have two new listings.
But it's 11 now. It's 11 in total, huh?
Well, actually, on the DTCC, remember the DTCC holds all stock actually in the USA. You don't own nothing and you'll be happy. But anyway, the listing on the DTCC basically last time for Ethereum was around 12 days to approval. So the clock is ticking. That was last week. We're now possibly looking at approval of the Fidelity one, which was the one that the BlackRock correspondent said BlackRock will be watching their first initial inflows to determine if they're going to make a Solana ETF. So it's a very big moment. The listing of the Fidelity Solana ETF, FSOL, on the DTCC, that happened last week. We also had a couple other things. Remember I said the bill, it's called HR 5166. If anybody wants to go on congress.gov, You can go and see there. That's the strategic Bitcoin reserve. And then we had Tal Cohen, the president of the NASDAQ, on his X page announcing that the NASDAQ is going to ask the SEC if all assets can be tokenized. That went under the radar as well. That is massive news. Just like Galaxy tokenized on Solana, their actual stock, not an index proxy, the actual equity.
In the very same week, BlackRock said they want to tokenize all of their ETFs as well.
There you go. So that's big news last week. Also, people should understand. And all this good news, remember, is just going to result in Binance flushing the market. And I think that's what we're seeing. This is the final flush, in my opinion, before we get the rate cut pump. So any traders out there, look at your moment right now. That's my thoughts. And as far as Solana ETFs go, we have 11 Solana ETFs coming out. They're in kind and they're staking out the gate. They don't have to do extra approval for that, which means they're built for prime time. I think it's going to be a massive event. I think it's more like an actual technology stock, like any other blockchain token and listing an ETF ever before. And so I think maybe we'll see the decoupling where Solana ETFs move to more of a tech stock rather than a store of value like Bitcoin or Ethereum, which is sort of in the middle. It's not quite a store of value being proof of stake. It's not quite an execution layer because it can't service more than 15 TPS. So it kind of was always in limbo. I think the Solana ETF, holding a Solana stock is more like holding a tech stock. Fits perfectly into the NASDAQ. So I think it'll be more of a correlation with typical tech stocks, which will be really interesting. I'm excited to see where it lands up.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We're going to wrapping up now, getting close to the end. We're going to mix it up with a vision of 2030. I always try to look 5 years ahead as to what the world will look like and think about how we can position ourselves for what's coming down the pike. Era Digitalis, you're on. A couple of quick opportunities. What will be the biggest in 2030? I had a question yesterday, people saying, oh, uranium's going to be hot. I know you dabbled in uranium in 2024 and it did spike, but then it's gone down again. AI is the narrative as far as I'm concerned. The tokenization of everything is the narrative as far as I'm concerned. Quantum computing, I think it's too far out yet. A lot of the companies are kind of shit coins right now. And water resources, where are you playing?
Yeah, I think crypto is one big part that I think will continue. And the things that AI enables, which could be like smarter robotics, perhaps, energy for sure, in one way or another, for that will be needed, absolutely. And quantum computing, don't know if it will take off. But I think it's also like this. I think the biggest winners, if we look until 2030, are new trends. We have to be on our toes. I don't think it will be anything that people are already on today. It will be some new trend or sub-trend within the different segments. That's where the big gains will be. If we go back, it's always like that, like treasury companies in Bitcoin. No one saw that coming just some years ago. James, you were the first person anywhere that really got it. I think that was like you got it way before I did. So there's going to be something like that. Bitcoin wasn't new. It was just like one avenue into it. And now it's like all out. Now everyone wants to do treasury company and it's coming on Solana and everything else. But there's going to be things like that. The whole subject doesn't need to be new. Crypto wasn't new. AI doesn't need to be new. AI is AI. It's going to continue getting better every year, but every month. But within that segment, there's going to be new paths. And I think one thing that I love this group of people here, you guys, is that I think we have a decent chance at picking up on the new things that's going to come over these 5 years and be early on them. Because investing is a lot about getting to the conclusion of everyone else before they do. And sometimes we get it wrong, but it doesn't matter because the few times we get it right, the upside is enormous. So it can pay for the ones that doesn't, ends up little meh. because when it goes up a lot. So I think within artificial intelligence, within energy, within crypto are my main bets.
Exactly. And just to be clear as well, Mando, before I go to you, AI incorporates self-driving cars, humanoid robotics, that type of stuff, energy, nuclear energy, energy storage, all kind of under the same bucket. Mando, what do you see coming down the pike fast forward 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think the one that I've heard about more and more this week, well, at least the last 2 weeks, has been robotics. People have been talking about it a little bit even more in crypto, like crypto robotics coins, which is kind of works with why Tesla's also maybe been pumping. I don't know. That's the one I'm looking at over the next month or two. See if I can see anything interesting right now. It's really difficult because most of the robotics companies are kind of micro caps or massive. There's nothing kind of in between. And I find it quite difficult to invest in that. So you can kind of just stick with the Mag 7 largely.
Exactly. And there's only one company as well that has the brain, i.e. the AI, the Colossus AI centers, that has the manufacturing prowess and can tie up their own supply chain better than anybody. And that's, the leader will be Tesla in robotics. You talk to any top hedge fund manager, the top that invests in robotics, they are all positioning themselves hard in Tesla or have done, like Brad Gerstner and others. They see that coming. Marty.
Yeah. This is a great question. I think that obviously let's go through them. I think it'll be AI, semiconductors, renewable energy. There's a whole nuclear programs, crypto, obviously, because inflated money supply, liquidity towards 2030 should be peaking. So these things are just going to, go up forever, pretty much until then. I mean, I think that's the cycle now, is the liquidity cycle. Investing in AI, obviously automation. I agree with Mando. Top robotic stocks, robot people, the companies that make the robots and the automation systems. Obviously, semiconductors like NVIDIA, AMD, etc., also going to be great with Moore's law. All of these advances require faster machines, faster microprocessors. But then I also look at things like thorium. Uranium was the hit, but it's very unstable for small reactors. There's now more studies with things like thorium in China, and those stocks are starting to bomb, like just explode like you can't believe. And then the other things that I look at are the sort of tertiary components to supercomputers and quantum computers and AI, massive learning infrastructures, and that's cooling. And the biggest limitation right now to data centers and supercomputing is cooling. We can't cool sufficiently with liquid nitrogen. So they're turning to things like helium-3. If you research helium-3, there's now a couple of helium-3 stocks as well you can buy. They have to mine them. It's very hard to find on Earth. And that's also
deuterium on the moon, too. One of the reasons to go to the moon.
Exactly. So helium-3 and thorium are very interesting, early. We're very early to them. But I think by 2030, those will be the new narratives.
And the reason water is on the list is the WEF recently said last week that we may even have to charge you for the air you breathe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They want a tax on air. And can you imagine what they'll do with water? If water does become... The good thing is if we have lots of energy, we can desalinate water at scale very easily, very cheaply per gallon. So I'm not concerned about that too much. But that was super interesting. Now we're going to finish with a very quick fire round, ladies and gentlemen. Should I say just gentlemen and ladies in the audience too? Very quick, yes or no. Okay, if you had to deploy 50K today, what would you do? Mando.
Oh, God. This week?
JLP, yes. Right now.
JLP or Bitcoin for this week. I think it's going to be super volatile. I think Pump Fund, like I mentioned it last week on the show, it's up 2x since then. It's going mainstream. Traditionally, when something in crypto goes mainstream, particularly around culture, you throw away the charts. Since I've been in crypto, you had Bored Apes did that. They went all the way up to like 500 grand. Pudgy Penguins to an extent, you could say. Doge. When these things start to hit the mainstream, it can go crazy, and it's already making more fees than hype. So you could argue that's one to keep on your radar. It's already up 2x in a week, but it's at 8 billion. I think that one could go FDV. I think it could go quite a bit higher.
Awesome. Marty, 60 seconds, deploying 50K today.
I'd just stick to my current thesis. I would do 25% in Bitcoin, Solana, Sui, and Hyperliquid. I think that would be the best way to deploy it.
Nice mix. Your fastest answer ever. Congratulations, Marty.
Thank you.
CTO.
It could change tomorrow, but that's what it is today.
50K. 50K.
I agree with Marty.
Nice. Nice. Okay. One asset to never sell. What do you hold forever?
Forever?
Yeah.
We're holding stuff forever, are we? Yeah, probably Bitcoin. Why not? Hardest to get out there. Let's hold it for a while.
Marty.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Bitcoin, the one thing the government can't touch. I think it's the ultimate store of value, transportable. You can move around the world. I think Bitcoin is the one.
That'd be like a cold storage Bitcoin. Let's clarify that, not an ETF version. CTO.
I don't have one. If things turn down, I'm gonna sell it and buy it back lower. So I don't have one that I never sell.
Awesome. Okay, what's going to happen first? Solana will hit $1,000. There's so much chatter out there on X. Out there, it's insane. $1,000, which I think is, if everybody thinks it's going to $1,000, it's never going to happen. We do know it could go to 3,000 in 5 years from Van Eck and others. Or a $200,000 Bitcoin. What will hit first? We know the smaller assets move faster. And we know that nearly 70% of all SOL is staked. We know that the Treasuries are buying hand over fist. They are front-running the ETFs that are coming. Now we have 11 of them. Mando, what will hit first? What has the greater potential to hit first?
Yeah, I think that's an easy answer for me. That's Bitcoin. For those price targets, I'd say Bitcoin. Bitcoin hitting, what was it? Just under a 2x from here. Yeah, I think that one hits first.
There you go. Marty.
I think Bitcoin 200,000. I think that's going to happen based on global liquidity. I mean, we don't know what Solana will be at Bitcoin 200,000, but I mean, to get to $1,000 in that short time period is a long stretch. Binance would have to pretty much give up suppressing it. So there you go. I think Bitcoin to 200,000 is inevitable, probably much faster than we realize.
Okay. CTO.
I guess Bitcoin also, but I just have to, I mean, I have a reactive model, so I'm fine with either of them.
Yeah. I will take the opposite tact of all of you, because if Bitcoin doubles, the crypto market cap pretty much doubles. And that means there'll be a lot more money flowing into harder assets. And again, with nearly 70% staked, the impact of money flow, even if it's equivalent to Bitcoin on the ratio basis to market caps, the price will explode a lot faster. Again, if Bitcoin's at 200K, I believe Solana will be above $1,000. That's my answer, everybody.
I mean, but once again, that's today. Like if the NASDAQ approved tokenization of all stock on Solana, then I think it's very doable. But I think 500 is a much more conservative and more predictable target for me in the short term. Bitcoin 200, Solana 500. I'd say Bitcoin 500,000, perhaps Solana 1,000.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, if you want to pull up comments, that was the show. Links below, everybody, for everybody's channel you see here, and everybody's streaming to all their channels anyway. We have over 10,000 people watching live. Best crypto show on the planet. Mando's vision.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Thank you, gentlemen. Happy Monday. Keep your seatbelts on for the rate cut.
It's going to be a wild week. It's going to be a wild week.
It's going to be fun. It's been a fun weekend already. Thank you, gents. Have a great week, everybody. See you, CTO, Marty, Mando. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excellent show. See you next Monday.
Yeah.